Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a really unique upload to share with you. Go up to where Tom Mezek disappeared, change the SD card, share a little bit of what I found there. I also go further into the Adera Park at that location than I ever had been. I hiked out into the woods for about 2 hours and got pretty deep elevation wise, actually. And also, I have a very unique and horrifying encounter by the military. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and the membership are in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. Doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? Alright guys, back up where Tom Mezek disappeared. We're coming up on the anniversary of it, actually. November 15th. Coming to check on the Trailcam that we placed. Beautiful cold day today. So, hopefully we have some footage. I brought the other Trailcam with me to put up too. I got that in my bag right now. We'll get that set up. But, I mean, look at that hill. I love living up in the Adirondacks. Anyway, I'm not really sure what occurred here. It's an absolute mystery that he disappeared up here, and one that a lot of people have looked into. David Politis brought it to the world's attention. I brought it to my channel's attention. I'm out of breath right now. So hopefully we can find some information of what occurred and where he went to. Alright, I think we're coming up to, here's the rocks right there that I was sitting on. So, Trailcam should be over here somewhere. Let me flip the camera around. Trailcam is this way. Get the SD card out of it. There it is. Right there. Doesn't look like anything messed with it. It's turned a little. It's turned a little from where it was. Other than that,
Looks pretty good. All right, I'm gonna hit pause, get the SD card out, and we'll set it up again. All right, I set that Trailcam up. Got the SD card out of it. I didn't film it because pretty much my first time using a Trailcam. So, but it's set up now, same spot. When we walk back through, I'll show you exactly where I put it again. But I'm going up more. I want to go deeper into here and show you guys just how deep we are here. Let me flip the camera around so you guys can see exactly where I'm at. So as you can see, large ravine. Just beyond that hill and down is where I placed the Trailcam last week. So we're gonna go up this way. And as you can see, it's steep. Obviously, Tom Mezek didn't hike this, but I am. And I'm actually second guessing smoking my jewel all the time. I wish I didn't. But yeah, so this is level ground. Beautiful. Crappy washed trail. Now, some people had mentioned there's cut logs. Yeah, it's part of the Adirondack State Park. It's called Lily Pond Trail. So they do clear this area periodically. That's what made it so strange that he disappeared up here. You wouldn't think someone would, but he did. Beautiful day out though. Sun's starting to pop out. We're obviously deeper than we were when whatever that was smashed through that tree line. So, yeah, November 15th, 2015. Tom Mezek spent his last days of life up in here. Hey, Adirondack Trail marker. New York State Park. But yeah. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So I guess I don't know what to talk about. Didn't really plan to go hiking much. That's beautiful, isn't it? It's just got real quiet. Beautiful. I think we're at the top. Part of the trail. I've never been this far. Huh. It's eerie out here. So let's talk about that whole Jesse thing. I absolutely feel horrible for him. Oh, the trail goes straight up there. Look at that. Wow. Absolutely feel horrible for him. And what he went through, his wife went through. Wow. This is absolutely creepy. Dead silent. Yeah. So I feel very horrible for what he went through. But what can we learn from that incident? You know, first, he's from the area. He knows the area well, right? He's heard the lore, the legends. He sees or is warned by one of these creatures and continues to stay. Wow. This just keeps going, look. And continues to stay at that location. His wife seen it. They had it around their tent. And should he have left? Absolutely. Absolutely. I wish he had, because he wouldn't have endured all that pain. Yeah, we're not going any further. Excuse me, sorry. Film-wise, this has been about 20 minutes, if that, 10, 15. But I've paused a lot of it. I've been hiking, was it 2? I've been hiking since 11:30 this morning. Oh, I uploaded on the way here. I brought my laptop with me, hot-spotted from my car, and uploaded today's video. I'm gonna turn the camera off for a minute. So I hot-spotted from the car today on the way up here, but spent a lot of time up here. Anyway, here's what I wanted to say. Jesse, should he have left? What do you guys think? You know, he was not looking for sympathy at all. Most certainly not. I'm gonna keep this way. And what he wanted was to share. But through talking to other people, a few people had said he had been warned. You know, this creature warned him. Should he have stayed? He doesn't think so. He wishes that he had listened to the warnings. And still have his son, still have his wife. You know, what happened if me and my friends didn't listen to our warning in '94 and just stayed at that place and continued to hang out? Would we be here? I don't think so. Wow, look at this. Hang on. Look at that. That's crazy. We're going down the mountain now. So I wouldn't have been here. My buddy Gabe was so adamant about leaving that night because he had been in the car. So we hear the noises, you know, we're hanging out. We're like, what is that? What is that? And we hear the noises, and I'm standing, everyone else is in the car, and I'm standing outside of the car, not being brave, because to be honest, that's the least thing I am. I don't like being here right now, to be honest. I'm freaked out a little bit. Like, look at that. That's behind me is a ledge. You go up that rock right there, and there's a ledge. But we left. Come to find out, some 20 years later, the sun's peeking through. I don't know if you guys can see it on the trail. Come to find out, 20 years later, Gabe tells me that there was something, two things crossed over the trail in front of us. So it's a good thing we did leave. Really good. Whew. All right. I'm gonna hike for a little bit. I'll show you guys where I put the trail cam on the way back home, back through. Probably a little while more. All right, guys. So we're at the location right here. Here's the rocks that I was sitting at when whatever that way blew through the woods, startling the crap right out of me. I'll show you the trail cam just so you can see where I put it. There it is, right there, facing that way. So if anything comes up that path, it's not even a path, it's like, it looks like a path. I have a feeling that it's like an animal trail, game trail. It's weird now that I'm here, there's noise, there's life around. Wind, birds. All right, so I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm gonna get out of here and get home, get ready for tonight's, or yeah, this will be Sunday, but get ready for Saturday night's live stream. Go through the footage from the trail cam and see what we get. Talk to you in a little bit when I'm at home. All right, so that was my excursion on Saturday. Spent a while up there and just kind of explored, walked the trails, had fun. When I changed the SD card on the trail cam, I realized that I had clicked it too far. So there's 5 settings, like the switch goes 5 settings. So off is the first 1, 2, or so it'd be 2, 3 would be photo, and then 4 video, 5 custom. Custom's always set at photo unless you change it. I clicked it all the way to custom, not thinking, because video is the second to last. So I got 3 photos, but strangely enough, it's been dreary up here the last couple of days, except for Friday. And I put these up Halloween day, so Tuesday. Now, this is motion activated at 60 feet. I got 3 photos and I don't know what activated it because it doesn't show anything. I've gone through it. I'll share the photos with you now. I'm not going to make something up and say something was there. Look at this.
No, this is the photos that I got. I'm just curious of why and how this got activated. Maybe a branch, maybe a leaf, who knows? I don't know. But yeah, these are the 3 photos that I got from the first install of the Trailcam. This go around, it's set at video, so I'm pretty excited about seeing what comes out, if anything. But here are those photos, and then we are going to jump into today's really bizarre experiences. All right, guys, today's one and only subscriber submitted experience. I just received this via email. Hey, Jeff, I have feared the repercussions of divulging this experience for well over 20 years, even after my discharge from active service. We were told the penalty would be without mercy. It was considered sensitive classified information. In August of 1995, my Marine platoon was conducting our 3rd counter-narcotic joint task force operation in a pre-selective national forest in California, in a location that will be kept secret. The past 2 summers yielded solid results with the identification and eventual eradication of several big dollar marijuana grows in 2 different national forests. Federal law prohibits the military from acting as a police force. We were armed, but we were not allowed to engage or make arrests. Our job was to covertly insert into pre-designated areas chosen because of their remoteness and prior activity, and from gathering intelligence of the Mexican cartel informants who had knowledge of the grow sites in and around this particular national forest. Our job was to find a water source, follow it, look for signs, and locate any grow sites. Then set up an observation post, gather intelligence, and monitor activity until the state and local law enforcement made the bust. We were only allowed to use deadly force if our lives were physically threatened, and even then, it would be a slippery slope. Even if they spotted us and confronted us, we would wear civilian clothes and pose as hikers and campers. We were in a 4-man team on 3-day patrols. Myself, my assistant team leader, carried shotguns and 9mm. The 2 junior Marines carried M4s. We had thermals, GPS, compass, map. We had a radio and a stat phone. We carried water filtration pumps, fire tents because the threat of forest fire that year was a very dry summer. We did not carry a lot of ammunition. Our goal was to not be seen and to get out of Dodge as quickly as possible after finding the stream, which ended up being a trickle due to the drought. We pressed on for about 2 hours. We walked in the stream bed, walking on each side. We're near vertical 50-foot walls. We navigated around an extremely wide curve in the stream that was on point. And as I came around a giant boulder in the middle of that stream bed, I saw directly in front of me brown fur and large claws. I raised my weapon, which alerted the rest of the team, and it was a bear, a dead bear, lying on its stomach, and its head was ripped off. Twisted so it was facing upward toward the sky. Its 4 limbs draped over the sides of the flat elevated rock in the stream. It had large chunks of meat torn out along the sides of its spine and a gut pile. It was a gruesome sight. I didn't understand what I was looking at. We took defensive positions because my only thought was that poachers are Mexican growers looking for fresh meat after spending several months tending and growing the grow site. My assistant, a Native American from Navajo Nation in New Mexico, was the first to spot 2 sets of gigantic, bare-toed footprints in the damp soil all around that stream bed. We followed them to the edge of the western side of the stream, and they went straight up the near vertical wall to the top. A person would need climbing gear to achieve that ascent. No ropes, no gear, just disturbed dirt and rock from where they climbed straight up. We heard no one running, no one climbing, no rocks falling, just dead silence. A terrifying feeling of dread came over the entire team. My assistant looked over concerned. To make matters worse, I asked him what the hell was going on, and he said, "This ain't good, boss." The footprints were enormous. One set was clearly bigger than the other. I said to my assistant, "Why are they barefoot?" I still didn't get it. He suggested we reroute and change direction. He said we were somewhere where we should not be, and we were asking for trouble. He said there were wild men, and this was their kill in their land, and they're probably watching us as we speak. I looked dumbfounded and clueless as he whispered in my ear so that the other 2 junior guys would not hear and freak out. Sasquatch. But he called them something else, and for the life of me I cannot remember. It was something in his native tongue. I felt like something was watching us now. Maybe it was my imagination. And the air of the woods had changed. The woods got real quiet. No bird, no cricket. Even the mosquitoes stopped biting. An area of operation to recon and a mission to accomplish. If I had radioed in that we were altering our route and told them why, I would have been relieved of my responsibility and embarrassed in front of the entire platoon. I said, "We're moving out. Let's pick up the pace and get to our next checkpoint before 1600 hours. As we moved to our next checkpoint, I remember smelling this overpowering stench of rotting garbage. It was intense. It seemed to be everywhere. It was pungent to the point that I almost threw up. But then it just went away as quickly as it came. Things remained tense and uncertain, but when we discovered empty bags of fertilizer and several yards of gardening hose along the edge of the stream bed, it alerted us to the possibility of the grow site, and we soon forgot about the weirdness that just had happened. We followed the hose down from the stream into this game trail and into the clearing about 200 yards off the stream. That was when we first smelled the unmistakable skunky aroma of marijuana. We could all see bits of fluorescent material through the trees, which we assumed was a tent. So, we had found the grow site. We did an area recon of 360 degrees and found an ideal overwatch position on the elevated plateau about 75 yards from the growers' camp. We also spotted the pot field. I estimated at least 300 to 500 pot plants. We radioed everything in and set up our listening and observation posts. Crazy thing was, there were no growers, and we did not hear a sound, and from the appearance of the camp, it seemed unusually unkept, almost abandoned. Something didn't add up. Did they spot us? Did they make a run for it, even though these sites were cartel-owned? These sites were usually operated by poor farmers smuggled into the woods with minimal supplies and tasked with living the entire grow season in the woods until harvest. After examining the camp and tying up some loose ends, we kind of determined it had been abandoned for a long time. But we had to assume they'd be back or were still in the area. At around midnight, I completed my 2-hour security shift, fell asleep immediately. While sleeping, I remember hearing my guys speaking nervously, scared and confused, arguing. I thought it was a dream, but in reality, they had a situation unfolding less than an hour after I fell asleep. I awoke to a blood-curdling scream that punched me right in the gut. I awoke to 3 panicked Marines with the most terrified expressions I had ever seen on a grown man. I asked in my most pissed off, half-asleep voice. Who the F screamed? I thought our cover was blown and the operation was a wash. Their mouths hung open without a single word muttered. I heard the scream again. I had never heard anything like this. It was deep and guttural. It went through you like a sonic boom. It was like a woman screaming, but only deeper. The garbage odor was stronger, like we were lying in it. My assistant said, 12 o'clock movement. I got my weapon and grabbed my night vision. After fumbling around with the goggles, I managed to get them on and put on my face. Now, we had to scan for a couple of seconds. I had a heat source almost immediately, and it was huge. I thought bear, but it walked from behind a tree, then crouched down, real stealthily. Then down on all fours behind the growers' tents. I knew it was not a bear. It kept raising up, peeking from behind the two tents. The growers' tents were set side by side. It obviously didn't account for us having night vision. And it stood straight up. There was no moon. It was pitch black. I could see it fully. I estimate this thing to be at least 10 feet tall, maybe 5 feet across, long, lanky arms and no neck. I can still remember how long its arms were in relation to its body. It was not proportionate at all. It started growling, and it still didn't sink in what I was looking at. The growling was deep and continuous. I yelled at it. It immediately squatted back down behind the tents like it was thinking to itself, "Oh, they see me." Just then, like an explosion, it came crashing through the tents, charging straight at us. The other 3 Marines were fumbling around in the dark with their flashlights. We're still grouped, but everyone was looking for gear and weapons. I chambered around and remembered the distinct sound of the M4 charging handle to the left of me sliding home. At least we had 2 weapons on it. I dropped the night vision. I didn't strap them to my face. Instead, I just held them there. But as I drew my weapon, I let them go. I told my assistant to grab the night vision down by my knees somewhere. The only way we could see this freight train coming at us was because it had been crashing through the tents. One of the tents got hung up on it. It was being carried around with it as it charged. It charged maybe 25-30 yards before it made a hard left straight into the tree. It must have snared the hijacked tent. The tent was now hung up in a tree, maybe 8 feet off the ground. It didn't go far into the woods. The crashing and snapping lasted 3 seconds, maybe, and then stopped. It was still close. It started growling again, and the volume would go up and down and up and down. Panic was hitting us all now hard. I was really starting to worry about one of my guys discharging his weapon and shooting one of us accidentally. I called up to where their positions were in relation to mine. It was dark. It was confusing. I wanted all of us elbow to elbow and accounted for with weapons pointed in a safe direction and not at the back of our heads. This creature started making a different noise now, like a chattering Chinese type of language, followed by this occasional whoop. 20 seconds later, the growl was back, and then back to that weird chattering. It was so odd, terrifying, and unreal at the same time. I was trying to keep myself together. I wanted to gain accountability and control and make sure I was making good decisions even with this creature 50 yards to my 3 o'clock. I was still worried about consequences brought forth by my command for making a bad decision. We heard a loud crack followed by a second or third crack and then an unmistakable sound of a tree falling. It had dropped a huge tree with ease. It crashed down with a thud into the camp area about 50 yards from us. I asked for a radio so I could inform command of the situation. One of the Marines was fumbling around trying to locate the radio. My eyes were glued to the area from where the tree had fallen. I couldn't blink. I was absolutely terrified. Again, I asked for the radio. We had 2 weapons on this thing at 3 o'clock. My assistant scanning with night vision. The 4th Marine was now trying to reach someone on the radio. The last radio check was 2200 hours. And we were doing a 4-hour comm check. He managed to get someone on the radio, but the signal was garbled. He kept repeating that there was something attacking us and we needed help. They asked to speak with the TL, me. I stuck out my left hand, grabbed the radio, and informed the commander we had an unknown hostile probing our observation post and I didn't know what to say. They asked about numbers and weapons and visual identification. I told them just unknown, but we need a rapid response team and an emergency evac immediately. Just then a scream comes from our 6 o'clock. It was a similar scream to the first, but this one was much closer. We had abandoned situational awareness and forgot about covering our 6. We couldn't see the second one, nor could we hear anything other than that initial scream. The one at our 3 o'clock started moving as it rounded our position, making its way to the 6 o'clock from where the second scream came from. I turned on my mag light that was attached to the barrel of my shotgun and followed this thing as it ran on all fours, just like a chimpanzee. It moved with such speed and agility, just plowing through everything on the ground. For the first time I saw it, it looked brownish red, and it was immense. It had huge, thick legs and massive shoulders. You could hear the impacts on the ground every time it advanced. The speed was incomprehensible. It went from point A to point B in less than 10 seconds. It was now 50 yards towards 6 o'clock behind the group of large birds. We could hear its breathing with its massive lungs and its massive chest. "Can we shoot?" one of the Marines asked. "No, hold your fire." Command wanted me on the radio, but I could not move. Then it began chattering again. I raised my shotgun with the mag light still on and made eye contact with the creature peering up from behind the fir tree. It snarled and began growling. Its hair had twigs and leaves in it, had patches of bare skin like it had mange. This thing had no neck, and its eyes were jet black and huge. Jaw muscles on each side of its face was huge. This was the biggest thing I'd ever seen as it started growling. A different growl joined in. I raised my gun higher and followed the center for the tree up towards the top. And there it was, the second one. It had climbed the fir tree and was about 75 feet in the air. It managed to get behind us and climb the tree without a sound. All military discipline had flown out the window. We all had flashlights turned on and we were yelling at each other and at these things. One of the Marines was yelling, "Get out of here!" Another kept saying, "WTF, WTF." I ordered everyone to gather their gear and get on their backpacks, and we backed up into the main campsite area, trying to put a little more distance between us and these things. I ordered to gather as much wood as possible. There was a lot lying around from the fallen trees. The tree this creature had fell was dead and broken into 100 pieces, strewn about. I started a campfire, which was probably a terrible idea given the fire conditions that summer, and it's the last thing Marines would do in a real-life nighttime operation, but this was no ordinary mission. It was just so dark, and I was hoping for some extra light, and the sight of the fire would sway these things from advancing any further. I truly believe they were engaging us, looking for a weakness or an opening. The large one stayed put as the second one would pace out to its left to right. Its head kept jerking around like it was viewing us from multiple angles. It was terrifying how it jerked its head around, never taking its eyes off of us. It came down from that tree in less than 2 seconds. It was faster than a chipmunk and 100 times its size. At this time, help was 2 hours away. They were going to meet us about a mile north on the old forestry road that we had found on the map. When they were an hour out, that's when we would make our move and head north to meet up with my unit. It was fairly even terrain, and we had no major obstacles. Back and forth communication with my unit command only created more confusion for everyone not involved. If I were them, I'd be thinking the same thing. These guys are crazy. We made our move out of the campsite. We heard them foul. We left the fire going. I remember thinking to myself, I hope it doesn't start a forest fire. But the lingering fire gave us the courage to venture into the dark woods. My assistant was an ace at land navigation, and I took up the rear with the night vision, now properly strapped to my face. I thought about a warning shot or two, but even that would exact a severe penalty for discharging a live round in a national forest without legitimate reason. Even though we had a reason, it would have landed me in NJP. I had weapons, but I might as well have been unarmed. Using them would have gotten us in trouble and would have only angered these creatures because anything short of a 50 cal round would piss these things off. They were that big. They didn't harass us much on our trek out. I figured it would have been a prime opportunity for them to make their move, but they kept their distance. We were still close enough to that pungent and smelling rotten trash still hung in the air. At one point, one of them advanced out of the forest to our left flank, held its position as we passed. We eventually met up with the response team. My platoon sergeant was angry and full of questions, but these beings made their presence known. In a way, I was glad these things followed us, because I highly doubt anyone would have believed us. Who would? They arrived in 2 SUVs and an 8-passenger van as these things screamed and broke limbs. Sergeant acted unusually calm and accounted for everyone and all their equipment and weapons. He would occasionally look in their direction, but made no inquiries about what these things were. He was very calm and a cool combat vet, and wanted to get a good accountability for personnel and equipment. Ask questions later. The response team members set up a perimeter. I could even hear them asking amongst themselves, what the hell are we looking at? Even during the Bigfoot encounter, we were professionals. It was done by the book. Several Marines kept their weapons out, ready round in chamber. But I had unloaded and made a safe mine along with the rest of my team. I made sure all of my guys went to the van before I entered. The platoon sergeant rounded out the response team and they began to load up into SUVs. I finally heard the sergeant ask another sergeant, "WTF is going on?" We drove out into one of the blackest, darkest nights I had ever seen. All of a sudden, a huge rock smashed through the front windshield of the lead SUV. The driver cut the wheel hard left and ended up flipping over down a small hill. The vehicle ended up on its side again. Every Marine present exited the vehicle and set up a defensive perimeter around the downed SUV. One Marine received a broken collarbone and minor contusions. Now things got real. At this point, the sheriff and forestry department were en route to our location. National Guard Blackhawks were on standby for the entire month of operation, and they dispatched one of the choppers to provide aerial security. We were to remain in place, maintain 100% security, and wait for daylight. By 7 a.m., the cavalry had arrived, and we were finally on our way out of that forest. I had never talked about this incident, even amongst ourselves. The terrified look on some of these guys' faces is still burned into my memory. The sounds, the smells I experienced that night, along with the terrifying looks of these creatures, will stay with me for the rest of my life. Wow. You know, these are the operations that go on in our national forests all the time. The ones that we don't hear about. Like I just recently learned, and I've lived in the Adirondacks my entire life, 47 years. My dad, 73 years. And I informed him that there are 12 missile silos in the Adirondacks back from the 50s. Dad didn't know that. And he grew up here. My great-grandfather was one of the founding members of the political whatever of our town. You know, I generations deep in this area. Insane. Just insane. Guys, I have got a bonus Dogman encounter to share with you. I can't end the night like that, can I? Nah, we gotta end it with a Dogman encounter. Let's get into it. When this experience happened, I was around 10, so the memories may be a little fuzzy. This happened when I was in 5th, maybe 6th grade. Me and 2 of my friends, who we'll call Shay and Dan, all wanted to go camping badly. After months of begging our parents, they finally agreed, and we'd be camping somewhere in New Jersey. We drove there and got into the woods. These woods were huge and in the middle of nowhere. The last signs of civilization were an old highway. We found a campsite and set up. Everything was going well. My friends wanted to go explore. We were stupid kids and didn't know the dangers. After convincing our parents to let us go, at first it was pretty cool. We even saw a raccoon family. But then it started to get dark. We decided to head back. But it got dark quick. Everything looked the same. We did have our flashlights, but they were cheap and not good. After a while of walking, we found this old clearing. We sat down on some rocks. That's when we saw it. Around 10 feet from us, there was this figure. It was furry, and at first I thought it was a black bear since it was standing on its hind legs, but no. Its head was extremely canine. Its fur was blackish, and its eyes a piercing yellow. We bolted out of there screaming. I didn't get a good look, but I remember its eyes and face to this day. We ran and eventually found the camp. Our mom swarmed us, hugging us and scolding us for being out so long. We did not tell them what we saw, just that we had seen a bear. When they asked why we looked so terrified, to this day I have not told anybody, and it took me a while to even write this out. Some may not believe me, and I can't blame them, but the message I hope you take out of all of this is we don't know nearly as much as we think we do about this world we live in. Ain't that the truth? Alright guys, I hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Guys, thank you for supporting this channel. Your support is what makes this channel so special. The community that you guys have in the comment section is truly amazing. It's like no other. I mean, it's awesome. You guys have become friends among friends, you know, it's great. I don't know how other creators look at their comment sections. I just know how I do. And I view it as your guys's area to communicate with each other. That's why I tend to stay out of it. Also because of trolls, and when I start communicating with them, I get myself in trouble. But thank you, because it's just amazing. Also, it's what keeps this channel growing and going. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. keeping an eye on our children, the precious gift, our pets, our family, and friends. These creatures are real, they are out there, and they are dangerous. Share a little bit of information that we share here on a daily basis with each other, with those that we love and care about, and it may just save their life someday. God bless you all.